Welcome back to a Celtic state of mind. It's like the old days. It's a match day. It's Ayr United versus Celtic. I'm Paul John Dykes. Tonight, I am delighted to be joined by Chris McElwain for what is effectively the first game of the season. And we've been talking for the largest part of the week, Chris, all around starting 11s. We didn't really quite know how Brendan was going to play this. So initially, I was talking about the strongest 11 we could field. And you had all the big guns in there, big guns being Matt O'Reilly, et al. And then we started speaking about a hybrid team of some kind of first teamers in amongst some of the fringe players, etc. So what we've got is the second option. It's a hybrid team. There's starters, there's youth players. We're going to run through each and every single one of them. Starting off with the goalie. Goalkeeper is Scott Bain. And on the bench, we have Toby Oluwayemi and Josh Clark. No place on the bench for Benji Siegrist. Chris McElwain. I think Brendan is playing a blinder. I'll tell you whether or not you're coming back. Actually, back you come for training. I'm not even going to play you. There you go. That's fair dues.
Absolutely. I mean, we've been joking about it, for the best part of 2 weeks now about Siegrist and the fact that he seems to have caught the ire of Brendan, and rightly so, because I think, as you said today, quite unprofessional, not really showing the kind of commitment or attitudes that you want as part of a squad, and he is part of a squad. I think he thought he could just not come back, and that was his Celtic career done. But the fact is, son, you're getting a wage, you'll be back there, and you'll be putting in the graft whether or not the manager decides to play you. But I think there's out of favour, and then there's where Benji Siegrist is, and I think he's gone beyond out of favour. I think he is just,
well, if he's not in the cashier, where is he? In the boot?
I was going to say, if he's in the car, he's definitely not on the seats. He's in the boot, or hanging on to the back of it. Goodness knows. But yeah, it's. Look, unless there's a fitness issue that we're not aware of, and I guess that's a possibility. I think it is a message being sent to the player saying, look, until we sell you or we agree on mutual termination, you're part of this club. You take your wage, but you put in all the responsibilities that come with it. So, well, strong management. I like to see it.
I like to see it as well. I'm going to bring this up, right, so that before we get stuck in about intricacies of the lineup, we're going to be obviously looking at our opponents as well. Brian Lennon, can you tell us who some of the players are? We'll run through the team. We'll run through their positions, their age, and where Brendan has brought them in. So some of them are B team players, some of them are, of course, under 18 players. So Scott Bain in goals, all about Scott Bain. Scott Bain, I was just looking at this. He's played 78 competitive games of football for Celtic, and this is his 8th season. Right, Josh Dady is a right back who can also play right wing. He is 18 years of age, Scotland under 16, 17, 19. Could well be wearing the number 53. 53, yeah. We've actually got the team group. The team group's been sent to us by the Ayr United commentator, Jerry Taylor.
He's loving it. He's absolutely loving it.
He's rubbing shoulders with Brendan and all this stuff. Oh, yeah. Trying to get a seat on the bench. Right. Stephen Welsh is playing centre-half. You know all about him. And he is partnering Mike Nawrocki. I mentioned Nawrocki during the week as well. I'm not surprised he's playing. And this is an interesting one. So you've got Yuki Kobayashi, who has had a season ticket in the car share. But I was just having a look at this, trying to figure out how we're going to shape the defence. Kobayashi has played a few games at left back. Is he starting at left back tonight? Possibly. Because he's played there. He's played there over in Japan.
I was wondering about that. I was wondering if are we going to play the same shape, or is he actually changing shape a little bit? Because while we've got lineups, we don't necessarily have the formation. And it's interesting you talk about Josh Derry. When I saw that, I actually missed the fact there wasn't an accent next to Derry, and I thought we had Diri or some sort of exotic Brazilian coming in to play for us, a signing that had to be announced. So, but fair play to young Josh. I look forward to seeing what he can do. But yeah, the defence is a strange one, because you'd assume that Welsh and Nawrocki are playing in the centre if it's a flat four. So yeah, that puts Kobayashi out as one of the left or right back, one of the wing backs. So it'll be interesting to see whether how he performs there. I know pre-season there's only so much we can learn from it, but yeah, I'm keen to. Keen to see what that looks like.
Yeah, but come on now. If he has a blinder, it doesn't mean to say we don't sign a new left back, right?
Could you imagine
please.
the socials? Could you imagine the socials? It's suddenly first game of the season and the team rocks up with Scott Bain in goal and could be a shit left back.
Well, we've seen Anthony Ralston coming out from the cold. We've seen Liam Scales coming out for the cold. Could this be the treble? Listen, no, we're getting carried away. Right, midfield. Tomoki Iwata, we know all about Tomoki Iwata. Kyle Ure. So Kyle Ure, 18 years of age, central midfielder, capped at under 16 and 17 by Scotland. Great to see the youngster getting a start. And Odin Holm, £2.5 million he cost the club back in the summer last year. So, yeah, he needs to start playing. 21 now, has to step up. Nicholas Kuhn on the right. I'm going to say this, right? You get breakthrough seasons and breakout seasons, and I am going to make a prediction about Kuhn. I think he's going to be one of our main players this season.
I hope so. He has been, as I've mentioned quite a few times, he's the one player that I've got a degree of confidence in because I saw enough of him last season to recognise where he was still trying to adapt, he was still trying to fit in, he was still trying to get his fitness up. But I saw enough in him to make me think there's a player there. I liked it at times his initiative. Looks a player that I think, given it confidence, will take players on, which is what you want from a winger. I thought some of his distribution was good, whereas some of it wasn't great. So more consistency needed in terms of his delivery and his ability to provide assists. But yeah, I would agree. I think this is his opportunity to really show what he can do. And actually, I mean, looking at this lineup, would it be right in saying that he's probably one of the senior players tonight in terms of age?
He's 24. Yeah, he is. I mean, Iwata's 27, Welsh is 24, Bain's 32, and Kyogo's 29.
Yeah, so he's at the point where he's got to really he's got to break through now. And actually, tonight's a good opportunity for him to lead by example. Actually, go out there and try and impress, show the supporters why they should back him, show the manager why he should be first choice on that right hand side. So yeah. Good luck to him. I hope he goes out there and has a decent showing.
I hope so. Andrew Kyle. Andrew Kyle is only 17 years of age. He's a centre forward, so I'm not sure if Kyogo Furuhashi is going to be playing left wing. We know he can play down the left-hand side, or if indeed Andrew Kyle is adaptable enough to do that. But Kyogo makes up the final three. On the bench then, just in case you're unaware of some of these names, we have dipped into the under-18 squad here. Some of the youth players are in there. Toby Ulubayemi, it's now or never for Toby. He needs to be pushing, I think, to be the third choice goalie this season. Once we sign in our first choice, you would hope that Toby's going to be your third choice goalie. He's 21 years of age, Chris. Showed loads of promise as a youth. England underaged international. We signed him from Spurs. 2 loan deals away in Ireland and Austria. He needs to make a mark now. Josh Clark, a wee bit younger. He's also a goalie, number 32 tonight. Hyun Yun Yang. Okay, right. He needs to show that he's got the fight that's required to play in Scottish football, or we're going to have to loan him out, I think. We all know about Hyungyu Oh, and he's sitting next to Kwon, the main man. Kwon's back from St Mirren. We've seen him playing in one friendly game. I think it was in fact, he played against Wolves, didn't he? And then he played in the James Forrest testimonial, and then he went out to St Mirren for a year. Boston Lawal, it would be good to see him coming in for some minutes.
Keen to see him, yeah. He's the one that stands out for me. Keen to see what he can do.
Yep, Mitchell Frame, we know that he played Champions League football last season. Dane Murray played Champions League football 3 seasons ago. Lenny Agbayer, then, if we look at him, because he's part of the Celtic FC B team, and that will give us a wee bit more information about, is it Agbayer that you call him? He's a centre back.
Yeah, I was going to ask, but I've heard some good things about him. There's a bit of promise there. So again, another one I'm keen to see coming in and seeing what it looks like. But again, I want to be realistic about, this is the first pre-season game as a friendly, so we'll be reserved in terms of both praise and criticism. But I'm keen to see some of these guys get some minutes.
Yeah, it could be one of the ones where you virtually change your team at half time, and you get all the young guys in. He's 19-year-old. And Jude Bonner is another young product of the B team, central midfield player, 19 years of age, and he's Scottish as well. Colby Donovan, this is where it gets interesting, because he's a 17-year-old plucked out of the under-18s. He can play central midfield or central defence. And Thomas Hatton, who is also a left winger, 17 years of age. So it'd be great to see some of the teenagers coming into the fray, maybe at half time. It's a bounce game. It's all about minutes in the legs. It's all about a bit of fitness. What does it say to you, though, when at Palma, Mikey Johnson, Lagerbielke are not part of this type of squad? Because, I mean, I'm not talking Matt O'Reilly here, who could be available, but you understand why he's not playing. Mikey Johnson's not in the squad. Gustav Lagerbielke's not in there. Lewis Palmer's not in there.
Yeah. Well, Lagerbielke's not a huge surprise. I just think that he doesn't have a road back at the moment, it seems, as far as the manager's concerned. So a little bit, I feel for him. I don't think he did a huge amount wrong. I just think it wasn't a great fit for the club or for the manager. So I'm not too surprised about Lagerbielke. But surprised about the other two. I'd like to. I think, just in terms, unless it's a fitness issue, you think even just have them in about the squad for nothing else, and maybe they actually can positively influence some of the younger guys, and get out there. It's almost a free hit for some of these players. You think they could go out there with the greatest respect to Ayr. There's nothing at stake really in the game. Just go out there, show what you can do, have a bit of fun. Palmer for me would be the type of player that maybe would have went on there and thought, we chance to show off here, we chance to do a bit of showcase football. But yeah, for whatever reason, they're not in the squad. So we could go into all sorts of theories why they're not there. Do we dare think maybe they're out there negotiating with another club, and maybe we're getting a few
yes, we dare. Yes, we dare.
And we dare to think that. I mean, look, it's a possibility, because I think the one I know there's been criticism of what we've seen in the window so far. In terms of, we've not seen enough positive movement in terms of signings. But what we have seen is we've started to see moves to clear out some of the, and again, I mean this with greatest respect, but some of the driftwood, some of the guys who really, for whatever reason, are not contributing. Tillio's gone back out on loan. I don't think we'll expect to see him back. Seagrass has made his intentions very clear, and I think the manager's responded. Rudy Vata today, people have mixed feelings about that, but as another player, out the squad. So we're clearing space in the squad, and you hope we're doing that for the purposes of not only having a smaller, more cohesive unit in terms of the team, but actually we're also making room for some real quality signings, is what we hope. I mean, that's what we want as fans. So yeah, I've made my feelings clear on Palma. I don't necessarily rate him at this moment in time, but I'm prepared to trust the manager, and if the manager thinks he can come into this season and still do a job, then fair enough. But Lagerbielke, no, I don't think so. And James McCarthy, did we even mention James McCarthy? I mean, there's no idea. No idea.
Knows, Chris. Ayr United. We'll run through the Ayr United team. Harry Stone, Nick McAllister, George Stanger, Scott McMahon, Paddy Redding, Ben Dempsey, Marco Roos, Jay Henderson, Mark McKenzie, Anton Dowds. Honestly, see, when I saw Anton there, I just thought Rogers.
As soon as you said Anton, yeah.
Rockside blonde hair, playing in a friendly game for Celtic. George Oakley. On the bench, Ollie Ekrepont, trialist, that famous Scottish player. He's been around a wee bit, trialist. Frankie Musonda, trialist. Oh, I love it. So number one's a trialist, number five's a trialist. Andy Murdoch, Fraser Bryden, Roy Silla, Ethan Walker, Scott Tomlinson, Dylan Watritt, and number 16, trialist. Maybe one of them is James McCarthy. One of the three trialists on the bench.
Hey, listen, could be. Maybe, as Bruni said, I'll take him off your hands. Is he doing us a favour? Are we doing him a favour? Is neither doing each other a favour?
Where's McGeady? Why is McGeady not playing? He played last season, didn't he, for Ayr United? Right.
That's true.
Let us know, who are the trialists? We want to know who's sitting on the bench for Ayr United. Now, let's bring in some of these comments then. John, the truck driving legend, still a driving god. And humble with it, John. Humble with it. Evening, Paul John. Great for watching the hoops for the first time this season. Absolutely loving it. Jim Orr was playing it cool earlier on. he said that he wasn't that bothered about pre-season games.
I heard him.
I was buzzing. For tonight. Donny Tiny Hands, Kobe masterclass incoming. Stranger things have happened.
Yeah,
Donny.
you never know.
And Jungle Lion, Scott Bain has more medals than all the Lance players put together. Lance being Lance Armstrong, aka Cheat. You see what he did there? Right. No, you're right. Scott Bain, he does. He's got a massive cabinet of medals.
He does.
Bainesy. Who's going to captain the side today?
Well, good question, actually. I mean, we mentioned some of the senior players. I mean, the Welsh has probably been the longest at the club, I would think, right? He's got the most tenure at the club, but then do you go for one of the senior first team pros like Kyogo? Maybe give Kyogo the nod tonight? Who knows? So that's a difficult one, isn't it? You're looking at potential contenders out there, and there's not any obvious ones, really.
Bain, Welsh, or Kyogo, I would say, would be...
Have to be one of the three, because
Yeah.
you wouldn't say Nawrocki's got the tenure, or it's not established enough, and Iwata doesn't, maybe doing him a disservice, but doesn't strike me as sort of the captain type. Whereas I think Kyogo's got the, seems to have the personality, and might just go out there. I know they're not going to be the captain or even the vice captain for the season, but yeah, just give him a wee nod, let him with the armband, show a bit of appreciation. Why not?
Yes, absolutely. We were doing an event last season in Gracie's. It was with Paddy McCourt, the Derry Pelly, and there was a documentary team came over from Germany. They were doing a documentary on the world's biggest derbies, and this segment was all about the Glasgow derby. They came over, they filmed a few interviews in Gracie's before the gig, and they were telling us that they had organised through some third party to interview Mike Nawrocki. The club didn't give them permission, so they bundled him into the Brazen Head and interviewed him in there. I still don't know if the club are aware of that. Sorry, Mike.
Might be now.
Sorry, mate. Sorry for throwing you under the bus. You and Boy Martin, just to rub it in, hail troops from a hot and sunny Spain. How is the weather back home?
I always knew I didn't like that guy,
It's not bad, Ewan. The weather's not bad, mate. As it gets pelted off the window frame. Right, here we go. Celtic follower. It seems a decent lineup. To see the young guns. Yes, this is the thing, right? I do love the opportunity to see what's coming through the ranks. And if you haven't done so already, because I know that you'd have all been buzzing for the game tonight, this is Acsom episode 6, went live at 6 o'clock tonight. And it's with David Elliott. David Elliott being a product of the Celtic youth of the late 80s and early 90s. And we had a really good discussion about, what makes a good youth academy or he's still coaching youngsters to this very day, is David. And the reserve league, the lack of the reserve league. And we bemoaned the lack of quality coming through. And that aired on the day, like you quite rightly said, Chris, on the day that Rocco Vata, you actually said Rudy. I mean, I'd have been really surprised if Rudy got the boots on.
Paddy pulled me up for it there. Yeah, I didn't. I didn't even notice that I said Rudy. Just shows you that was the era. That was my era. When Rudy was playing.
Mine too. The big thing with me is Rudy's actually written his autobiography. He's written it with Jerry McDade, and I think it's going to be a sensational book because his football story is unlike most others.
Yes.
Football for him is about freedom from his country at that time, and coming over to play for Celtic was escapism as much as anything else. So Rudy, I've got a huge amount of respect for Rudy Vata. When I heard that his son was on the scene, and I'm talking maybe when Rocco was about 12, I heard about him. I was very excited to see how he developed. I wanted to see him developing in a Celtic jersey. It's not to be, but it raises more questions, I think, all around where we are, not just as a football club, but within Scottish football. When a young player comes through, a product of your youth academy that you are obviously ploughing a lot of money into every single year. I think it's maybe gone up, but it costs maybe $2.5 million a year to run the academy. There's a huge investment up in Barrowfield, which is for the facilities to enable these young guys to develop and progress as best as they possibly can. Yeah. Yet when we have that product, right? So this is a youth product, right? And if you think, let's say, the last three that have come through the graduation kind of process, the last three would potentially be Rocco Vata, Ben Doak, Karamoka Dembele. And you ask yourself the question, why are we not getting the fruits of our own labour there, Chris?
Yes. Well, I mean, Rocco seems to have been at the club forever, and again, he's become just the latest in a long line of players that we've invested in from a young age who've moved on. And questions have to be asked as to why are they not being able to make the step up? Is it a lack of opportunity, or is it a lack of ability? Now, Karamoko's apparently knocking it out of the park down at his Blackpool. He's with, if I'm right, and he's getting plaudits left, right, and centre. Ben Doak. I mean, we've heard Jackie McNamara talk about Ben Doak and give us some insight into his career, and I think he is potentially maybe not even a season away from breaking through into that Liverpool team. The way that he's being spoken about, really gutted for him that we didn't see him in the Scotland squad for the Euros. Although makes you wonder, given the tactics, makes you wonder if he'd actually got the opportunity. But I think he's got a massive future ahead of him. And now Rocco Vata, and we've seen Rocco Vata in fleeting appearances in the first team. Never thought he looked off it. I always thought he looked like he had something to offer. Good bit of pace. Don't know again about his training performance. Don't know about his mentality. I think Rudy had given a little bit of insight into that during one interview, but don't really know a huge amount about him. But surely one of these guys must have something that is is noticeable by the Celtic coaching staff of the hierarchy to say, look, we've invested so far, we can see they're ready to make the step up. Give them the opportunity. But what's the barrier? What's that preventative issue? Because you talk about the investment we're making in youth and the investment in developing players. We are not seeing any return on that investment. We simply are not. I mean, even at 2 million, we are not seeing a return on that investment, which is dreadful when you now consider. And there is a real possibility Rocco will go on and have a great career at Watford and just go from club to club, strength to strength. What does that say about our club and our infrastructure? What's preventing our guys from recognising talent? Or is it a case of we're simply not prepared to give them not only the opportunity on the pitch, but maybe the financial incentive to stay? Do we not have that level of trust in the players? So it's a strange one, but it's very, very worrying because it's been a long time since we've seen a player come through from the youth and become an established member of the first team. It's been far, far too long, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely agree with that. And we have been going on about it a fair bit on Acsom since we started up in 2017. Some might say in the comment section, listen, these guys weren't good enough. Well, Ben Doak was, we know that. He's going to be sensational. Dembele, I don't think he benefited from the hype, to be fair. I mean, giving him a game in the reserve team at 13, well, not the reserve team as such, second string. At 13, there was a hell of a lot of hype around the English versus Scottish battle to cap him. He was appearing on all these lists of 100 greatest European talents and all this kind of stuff, and he ends up at Blackpool. And although he did play particularly well last season, and it may lead to a permanent move because he is still with Brest over in France. That's his parent club. He hasn't at this. We're talking about fulfilling potential. The guy's only about 19. And then Rocco Vata. I think the issue with the situation with Rocco is the minute you start to speak to other clubs because you haven't had the deal done early, the minute you get into that area where you're allowed to speak to other clubs, Chris, they will be able to, just like the first teamers, they will be able to offer more money, sizable chunks more than what Celtic are able to offer. We spoke about it earlier on in the bulletin at 12:30 today. Celtic have like a 3-tier system where you've got players on under 10 grand, say, and then you have that bracket in the middle, which is the likes of Seagrist, 15 grand, there or thereabouts.
Couldn't believe that when you told me he was on the same rate as Joe, I think you said, didn't you?
Joe Hart, who came in on the same wages. And then you've got the top tier, and that's reserved for guys who you've maybe had to offer bumper wages to keep them at the club. Carter Vickers is in there. Rogic was in there before he left the club. James Forrest, longevity. Callum McGregor, captain. So you understand all that, and you can't break that, even when a young guy comes through showing a hell of an amount of potential. I think where maybe the club have gone wrong a wee bit is getting the deal done early. If we wanted to keep the player, get it done early before he can start chatting to other teams, because the minute you talk to an English club, they will absolutely be able to finance a bigger deal than what Celtic are prepared to do. So even if we were to say to Rocco, there's 10 grand, he's going to be making more money than, let's say, Iwata. He's going to be making more money than various players who have got a lot more first-team experience, Chris.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think you've got to marry that up with first-team opportunities as well, right? You'd like to think that an ambitious player, as much as I know the financial incentives are huge, right, and even in Scotland they're huge, but you've got to give them opportunities and a route into the first team. And at the moment, it just doesn't seem to be there. We see the odd opinion, young Daniel Kelly has come in and made a couple of appearances, and that almost felt like it was through more necessity than giving a kid an opportunity. But there has to be a route to go from the youth to the B to the first team. That absolutely has to be a route there. Otherwise, what's the point? What's the point? I mean, Rocco, if he was prepared to take 10 grand a week to sit in the B team and not really get close to the first team, is that actually the level of ambition we want our players to have? I know you've got the other end of the trajectory where they've got so much ambition. Well, the first thing they want to do is go and play in the biggest league in the world, which at the moment is probably England. But we need to find ways to incentivise these guys, to make them feel valued, to make sure they're looked after both from a financial perspective, but also in a career progression perspective as well. And I would like to see more of that. Bosun Lawal, for example, we sent him out on loan. He's done pretty well at definitely a lower standard of league, but he's done pretty well. Is he prepared to come in and take the step up, or do we look to farm him out for another loan? But there has to be an end game. There has to be an objective. We need to get him back to a point where he can actually then start contributing to the first team. Otherwise, what's the point of sending him out on loan? It's frustrating. It's frustrating, and it seems to point to a need for something to change. But what that is, I'm not sure.
No, you're right, and it's sparked a discussion due to the fact that we've got quite a few young names in the starting lineup and on the bench today. To the point that was made earlier on, let us know a wee bit more about them. I always remember in the Celtic View, you knew all about the young kids coming through. You were reading about them every other week, and there's loads of great points coming through. We're going to run through some of them before kick-off. Paul Maguire, you're watching on the YouTube. Home will come good. I've said that I think he will. I do. I think that Odin Holm has the potential to come good for Celtic. However, we need to make a decision on how much he's going to be playing this season, and if it's not going to be enough to help with his progression, loan him out for a year, get him game time. Someone makes a suggestion here in relation to a number of players being loaned out to Ayr United. We spoke about this. Let's marry up with teams managed by Neil Lennon in Romania, Scott Brown in the Championship, and let's get 3 or 4 of our fringe players out on loan to these teams and help them develop that way. So here we go. There we go. Yeah, it's Michael 89. Good chance for the young guys to show what they've got. Wouldn't be surprised to see 1 or 2 on loan at Ayr for the season. Thanks everybody.
It's an addition, isn't it? So yeah,
I think so. Big Red, good to see you on the comments. Blessings to Jerry Taylor tonight, doing the commentary at Ayr United. Is he jumping the dike? No, we hope you're doing well, Jerry. It was Jerry that gave us the team groups with all the full names, numbers, and all that kind of stuff. And he's already had a wee chat with Brendan Rodgers.
Oh yeah, did you hear the way he said it? He said, Brendan called me over. Did you hear that? He said, Jerry, Brendan called me over. It wasn't him running after Brendan. It was Brendan called Jerry over.
Of course. And then after the game, Jerry, it wouldn't surprise me if Jerry got an exclusive from Brendan Rodgers. So watch this space, and all the best for Jerry. And I'll just leave this. This will be the final comment of this evening before we get to the action. James Pearson, 88. It was good to meet you last Thursday at the Tomo, Jackie and Stan event in Glasgow. Quite surprised not seeing Kelly in the squad this evening.
Actually, yeah.
And then goes on to name some of these guys that have come through the ranks and obviously moved on. Hepburn, Morrison, Dembele, Vata, and many more. The conveyor belt of youth at Celtic is broken. in the opinion of James Pearson. Is the game on Celtic TV? Yes, it is. And it's also on Ayr United television. Didn't even know that was a thing. But there you go. It's on Ayr United TV. And the commentary, I have heard, is going to be sensational on Ayr United TV tonight. Cordo NUFC. So seek it out. Give me a prediction for tonight. Come on, we're back into the match day spirit.
Yeah, it's a friendly, so you want to see some goals, right? So I'm going to go for, be fair on United, let's go for 5-2 to Celts. 5-2 to Celts.
I'm going 4-0. 4-0 Celtic. Right. Thanks everybody for getting involved. As always, we'll be back at halftime for the halftime bulletin, and we'll be here also for half an hour after the game. Go and enjoy the action, and we'll see you again at halftime. All that's left for me to say, Chris McElwain, aka Double Denim. Thanks for joining me on a Celtic State of Mind.